My dad went to prison when I was like 5. It wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that's why I was so angry as a kid. I used to fight a lot in school. Like, I was always angry, always fighting. I moved around a lot. My mom was an addict, so I grew up in that, like, moving around a lot, and yeah, that carried over. I was the kid that ran away from addiction, like tried to outrun it, like wanted to go find like another family. So I ran to, my grandmother introduced me to religion at a young age. And so like she always had food, right? When I lived with her, we'd be in school and stuff like that. So I think I associated religion with having my basic needs met. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up getting married to someone who was religious, and then we had 2 kids. I had 2 daughters with him, and we were in the church. I used to lead worship in the church and things like that, and be very involved with like religion. But I had like suppressed everything since I was a kid. I either blocked it out or I suppressed it. And then after I had my daughters, like I had postpartum depression, and I guess it just started popping out, or like I couldn't hide it anymore. I started behaving like an addict. But I didn't know I was an addict. Like I thought, like I had outrun it, or like I had gone to religion, and like I didn't realize all that stuff was still suppressed in there, and that I had never ever dealt with it yet. And then so it really shocked me when I started acting like an addict. I attempted suicide because I didn't agree with what I was doing, and I thought that wasn't, that was what I had tried to run from for so long. After that, I got divorced. I thought, okay, I'm gonna get divorced. I'm gonna go to work. I'm just unhappy, right? I was like, I'm just unhappy here. I don't want to do this again. I have kids, I was like, so since once I failed that suicide attempt, then it hit me. I was like, I have 2 kids, I was like, I gotta stay alive. So I was like, okay, I want a divorce. I want to go to massage school. And so I did that. I got divorced. I went to massage school, but still addiction was really active in my life. But I didn't know it was addiction. Like I would call it many different things. I didn't know I was an addict until one day I said, I'm gonna be a functioning alcoholic, right? I said that to myself. And I went to the bar and I was with my friends. I threw up and passed out in the bar the first day, functioning alcoholic, right? They had to carry me out and take me home. And then after that, I met a bartender on OkCupid who also sold like coke and weed and stuff, and that's how I got introduced to like kind of the street life, right? Because I had moved away from it and was like sheltered in the church for quite a while. We kept going after that relationship was over. I went to NA for the first time in 2019. He and I fought all the time. I ended up trying more drugs than that, and then he and I, split. I was like, I gotta go. Like I was like, I can't have you and my kids. I was like, so I want my kids, and I was like, and you're not coming with me. So I left and I went to Narcotics Anonymous. I think I'd already been to Narcotics Anonymous at some point, but we kept getting back together. So I always wanted to like have a boyfriend and have kids too, like I wanted to have my kids in my life and then also have a boyfriend. And that one didn't work out. So I was able to get out of that relationship, and then I ended up in another one really quick. We had already had a physical violence happen in that relationship. Once I got pregnant, it's like this fight just came up in me. It was like, I gotta get out of here for him, right? So I was able to get the last 3 months clean, and then I ended up signing the rights over to all 3 of my kids in my active addiction. And I have a year and a month now. And it was like, I finally fully surrendered, and I saw it for me. Like I ended up going to jail towards the end of my last run, right? Once I got out, I used again, but it was different. I was like, I actually kind of felt like a little bit of a panic. I was like, oh, I could die, right? So it was that stay in jail that I started caring about my life. Like I cried, I attempted suicide the first time I went to jail. Second time I was like, I'm gonna stay, and then it was like a slow progress of me caring about my life, right? Because I started out suicidal with the suicide attempt before I ever did any drugs, right? And I learned in the program that we learned in our active addiction, we were slowly committing suicide. And I was like, well, I was already trying that before that. So there was just all these other different ways that I tried it in active addiction. And so it was once I went to jail, I started actually coming out of that. And so my recovery has been committing to my life every day. Because before I went to jail, I was running in front of 18-wheelers, all this kind of stuff. And so it really was a slow progress. It took this whole year, and I would commit every day, right? And I remember when I did fully commit, right, to my life. I was like, I'm committing to my life. The recovery was a progress of committing to my life. I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna feel what I feel, I'm gonna go through what I go through, but I'm gonna stay. That was the decision that I've made in recovery, is no matter what I feel, no matter what I'm experiencing, I'm staying. Like, I'm not going to decide my death date. Like, that's gonna be my higher power's choice. Hopefully I don't buck it, right? Like, that's really my relationship with my higher power, is to stay surrendered. My higher power is keeping me alive. I've committed to my life, and that my higher power holds my death date. Like, it's not for me to determine, right? But there's still a part of me that's like, I'm 33, right? I have a year clean, and during the year, I discovered I was autistic, right? I discovered that I need support, and that there's a lot of things I'm gonna need going forward, and I don't even know what they all are. I'm grateful to be in this house. There's therapy, there's group therapy. I finished the 12 steps, so like me working as an RA, right? I'm working with newcomers and things like that, so I know I'm making progress. I think once I got to the 12 step, I was like, wait, what do I do now, right? I was like, I made it through, right? My goal was it's a 12-step program. If I don't make it through the 12 steps, I can't say it doesn't work. And I relapsed so much before this time. So a lot of me was just super fearful. Like, I was like, I don't want to relapse. I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to relapse. I don't want to go back to jail. And now it's like my life, right? It says the miracle, like there's miracles that happen beyond just staying clean. And I think a part of me is still reeling from the fact that my life isn't what it used to be. Like, my life sucked, like, till I got clean, and now's like the first time my life is actually not sucking. Like, it's taking some getting used to. Like, everything before I got clean and everything before I worked the steps, even working the steps was grueling for me, because I was going over all of the terrible things that had happened. So like, I'm still like reeling from that, like, that I'm free, for one, right? Like, internally free, and I don't think I'm even used to it yet. My journey has been like committing to my life, right? It's been moving from suicidal to, I want to live a long life and I want to die clean. Like, that's the change that's occurred in me. Was I was looking for any way to decide when I got to die. I never wanted that to be decided for me, right? The one thing I could control, right? And I looked for overdoses when I was using. I was always looking for that. To now, the change in me is I want to live a long life, right? I'm setting long-term goals. So yeah, being reminded of that right now is kind of, I forgot.